joining us in this hybrid meeting format. Anyone wishing to access the meeting can do so by watching the live stream available on our website, the broadcast on Comcast Channel 21, or by following the access instructions listed for this meeting on the city's public webcast and meeting materials web page. Tonight's meeting does include a public forum. If you wish to speak during the public forum and have not already done so, please fill out a request to speak form available on our public webcast and meeting materials web page. For those of you who are here in person, printed forms are also available at the entrance to the room. We'll accept request to speak forms until 7:35 p.m. These request to speak forms will be used to generate the random order of speakers and correctly enter speakers' names into the public record. For those of you who are joining us by phone, who wish to provide testimony and are unable to complete the request to speak form online, press *9 when the forum is announced, and the last 3 digits of your phone number will be added to the speaker's queue. And we have a few reminders for rules of conduct. We ask you not to display flags, signs, to make any loud or disruptive noises, or speak loudly, or do anything that really conducts the flow of business in this room. We are seeking to create a respectful and quiet and safe place for people to speak to council and for counselors to be able to hear them. And Ken, you're always welcome to wave your positive support by waving your fingers. And then finally, I see that you're all spread out, but if you're not feeling well, or if you had close contact with someone who is not well, we do encourage people to attend remotely rather than in person. And I see you're all spaced out, and if you want a mask, there are masks in the back of the room. So with that housekeeping taken care of, I will open this meeting with a land acknowledgement. Since time immemorial, the Kalapuya people have been the indigenous stewards to our region, building dynamic communities, maintaining balance with wildlife, and enacting sustainable land practices. Today's land acknowledgement is a way of resisting the erasure of indigenous histories and of honoring Native communities by inviting truth and reconciliation. Following treaties between 1851 and 1855, Kalapuya people were dispossessed of their indigenous homeland by the United States government and forcibly removed to the Coast Reservation in Western Oregon. As we consider the impacts of colonization, we also acknowledge the strength and resiliency of displaced indigenous people. The city of Eugene is built within the traditional homelands known as the Kalapuya Ilihi. Kalapuya descendants are citizens of the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde Community of Oregon and the Confederated Tribes of the Siletz Indians of Oregon. They continue to make contributions in our communities here and across the lands. We express our respect for the inherent political sovereignty of all federally recognized tribal nations and indigenous people who live in the state of Oregon and across the nation. And to begin this meeting, as we often do, I have a couple of proclamations to read. The first one is in recognition of the National Day of Silence. Whereas the National Day of Silence is observed in April each year as a student-led national demonstration and a movement against the harassment and bullying of individuals identifying with the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, LGBTQ+ community. And whereas the movement began in 1996 by University of Virginia students with the aim to shed light on the struggles of the LGBTQ+ community. The National Day of Silence has since expanded across schools, colleges, and workspaces throughout the United States and around the world. And whereas students participating in this movement typically take a day-long vow of silence as a nonviolent protest against the silencing of LGBTQ+ youth and the erasure of their experiences. And whereas it is critical to support those working together to promote inclusivity, diversity, equity, and belonging for all people. We are committed to working with local LGBTQ+ and multicultural community groups to identify, understand, and support what we can do to discourage discrimination and build a more inclusive community where all feel a sense of belonging. Now, therefore, I, Lucy Finnis, Mayor of the City of Eugene, Oregon, do hereby proclaim April 14, 2023 to be National Day of Silence in Eugene and encourage all community members in Eugene to encourage all community members in Eugene and all community members to commit to working with local LGBTQ plus and multicultural community groups to identify, understand, and support what we can do to discourage discrimination and build a more inclusive community. And my second proclamation is around Earth Day. Whereas, I just have to say this, the first Earth Day was in 1970, and I was a senior in high school. And I organized my high school's first Earth Day assembly. So I have a special attachment to this particular day.
That should be the first one.
I know, it should be. So, whereas the first Earth Day took place in 1970 and has since grown into the largest civic observance in the world, with more than 1 billion people participating in Earth Day activities each year. And whereas all people in our global community, regardless of race, gender, income, or geography, have a right to a healthy, sustainable environment. The global community faces challenges such as health issues, food and water access, sea level rise, loss of forests, wetlands, and other wildlife habitat, as well as social and economic struggles due to the changing climate. It is crucial to broaden and diversify this global movement to combat climate change and environmental degradation to preserve our Earth's beauty and resources. And whereas EarthDay.org announced Invest in Our Planet as a theme for Earth Day 2023, the theme is focused on engaging governments, institutions, businesses, and the people to do their part. Everyone accounted for, everyone accountable. The only path to a healthy, prosperous, and equitable future is to work together to invest in a green economy. And whereas Earth Day reaffirms our responsibility to act locally in the global effort to combat climate change and protect our planet for all. Now, therefore, I, Lucy Finnis, Mayor of the City of Eugene, Oregon, do hereby proclaim April 22nd, 2023 to be Earth Day in Eugene and encourage all community members to do their part in investing in our planet and to hold ourselves accountable for our individual and collective impacts to Mother Earth. Thank you. And with that, we are ready to move on to committee reports and items of interest. So I'm open that to counselors. I have Counselor Evans. I have Counselor Keating. Anybody else? Okay, take it away, Counselor Evans.
Thanks, Mayor. This is an update on the IGR committee. Last week, the legislature passed a significant deadline to have bills out of the first chamber, which substantially thinned the number of active bills. We are 50% of the way through the legislative session with major policy items passed. The governor's emergency homelessness and housing package, but there's more to come. IGR efforts are doubling down on our top 3 priorities: funding requests for unhoused response, housing development in the Crow Road area, and economic development with Clear Lake Road infrastructure. We have also secured one of the few unanimous bills to pass out of the House, which was our public records exemption for cybersecurity plans and information. As always, if there are policy-related questions, please reach out to the IGR committee, which includes myself, Councilor Groves, Councilor Ye, Mayor Finnis, and of course, our staff, Sarah and Ethan.
Thank you very much for that report. And Councilor Keating.
Thank you, Mayor. I would posit that at our new city hall, whereas every day will be Earth Day. Thank you for your proclamations. I welcome everyone back from our break. During break, I had the honor to attend a Sheena board meeting, the South Hills Neighborhood Association, the Southeast Neighborhood meeting, excuse me, several stakeholder one-on-ones, and I had the opportunity to attend the National League of Cities Congressional Conference in Washington, D.C. I sat in on a most interesting symposium about the best practices, challenges, and successes around the issue of hiring and retaining law enforcement officers. And I also had the honor of introducing our newest member of Congress, Val Hoyle, in the basement of the U.S. Senate. And it was great to see Val, great to see Congresswoman Hoyle in her element. We discussed housing, broadband, wildfire resilience. And as Councillor Evans can attest to, our NLC, our National League of Cities symposiums and summits are rich with information. And thank you, Councillor, for encouraging me to attend. And I invite our entire delegation to attend the next NLC this fall in Atlanta, Georgia. Right here in our own backyard, Mayor, tomorrow, the Human Rights Commission will meet at noon, the Economic Opportunities Work Group of HRC. And in the evening, Civilian Review Board and Human Rights Commission on homelessness and poverty work group meeting tomorrow night, 5:30. You can find all the information at the City of Eugene's website. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Councillor Groves.
Thank you, Mayor. I actually do have an item. I'm happy to report that on Saturday, April 22nd, we have two neighborhood association meetings. One is the ABC group that's going to be meet at Peterson Barn starting at 1 p.m. And we're going to be discussing or hearing an update from some of the regulatory agencies on the J.H. Baxter dioxin contamination problem. And then at 4 o'clock, the Churchill Area Neighborhood Association will be trying to reform. And it's been on kind of hiatus for a period of time here. And they're going to try and activate again. And they're meeting at 4 p.m. at 1919 Bailey Hill Road in Churchill Estates. And so I intend to be at both those important meetings. But I'm thrilled to see one of my ward's neighborhood associations going active again. And then of course, ABC is always doing something great. So I'll look forward to being part of that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other councilors with last minute thoughts? I have just a couple of quick ones, since I have just read a proclamation about Earth Day, that there will be an Earth Day celebration here on April 22nd, which is a Saturday, and it is at the federal courthouse, I believe. So you can gather there and show your support. It happens that this Sunday, the 16th, is the opening kickoff of the Food Waste Prevention Week. And as some of you may know who are paying attention to our climate action, that reducing food waste is one of the most sort of cost-effective and efficient and important ways that an average person can reduce the production of greenhouse gases by just eating the food you buy and not having it end up in the landfill. So a couple of good Earth Day observances. And it looks like Councillor Clark has his hand raised. So Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to remind folks in the general public watching us that this Friday and Saturday, the 15th and 16th, are the Library Foundation's annual book sale. I wait in line for hours to attend. It's a huge sale of books and great deals, and it benefits our Library Foundation. So
thank you for that.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. And I'm just going to a little point of or during council's break in March, I took a personal trip to Japan because I have a son who's living there, and had the opportunity to visit our sister city in Kakegawa. And we haven't, the last time a mayor visited Kakegawa from the city was in 2005 when Mayor Piercy went, and for various reasons it has not made sense, financial sense to fly there, but I was going there anyway. And really, it was a really wonderful experience. Kakegawa is a tea producing area. It's famous for its very high quality green tea. They have it's displayed in their city hall, which is designed to mimic the tea field. So it's a big rectangular building in which the stories, each of the 6 floors is like as if it were steps on a hillside. And so when you're on the ground floor, you can see all of the steps of the floors, and they're all so very accessible. And they have the same little fans in the city hall that they have out in the tea fields for frost prevention. So it's a really important part of their culture and their identity. And they have posters everywhere about the 8 components of their sustainability mission. So they are very much of like mind, and it was really a pleasure to meet their new mayor. And they have the first woman deputy mayor ever in the history of the city. That was very exciting. And so it was a unique opportunity, and I'm hoping that they'll come visit us sometime soon. And it will be hard to honor them as royally as they honored me when I was there. So really, really a pleasure. Okay, with that, I think we're ready for the public forum.
Consent calendar.
Oh, consent calendar. Consent calendar, yes, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve the items on consent calendar 1.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and that passes. Thank you very much. And now we are ready for the public forum. This is an opportunity for individuals to speak to the city council on any city-related issues except for those items which have already been heard by a hearings official. And I'll actually turn it to Cherish to share the list of speakers who have signed up. And
if you have signed up to speak via Zoom, please take this time to ensure that your screen name in Zoom matches the first and last name you used to sign up to speak. If your screen name does not match, we cannot promote you to a panelist to speak when it is your turn. Staff will announce 2 speakers' names at a time. If you are providing testimony via Zoom, when it is your turn, we will announce your name and promote you to a panelist status, and you can unmute and turn on your camera if you wish. If you are announced as the next speaker and physically in the room, please move to the seat in the front row designated for the next speaker. When it is your turn, you may come to the podium. When you are called to speak, please state your name clearly, and for Eugene residents, your ward or neighborhood, if known, before beginning your comments. You will have 2.5 minutes to speak. If you are watching the meeting, the timer should be visible. A yellow light will come on when you have 15 seconds to complete your comments. The red light indicates the end of the 2.5 minutes. For those who have connected to the meeting via phone and don't have the benefit of seeing the timer, please be aware that your microphone will be muted at the 2.5 minute mark. Please note that screen sharing or displaying information on the screen is not allowed, and any misuse of the platform or violation of the council's code of conduct will result in immediate termination of speaking privilege. If you have documents to give council, please place them in the council inbox basket near the podium. Our first speaker this evening will be Lynn Woodrich, followed by, actually, there's a mistake here. Lynn Woodrich should be followed by Robin Bloomgarden. Sorry, Jan, you will be third.
My name's Lynn Woodrich. I'm the Active Bethel Community Co-Chair. I've lived in the Bethel area over 25 years. I'll be living in Ward 6 through June, then we'll move back to my home in the Bethel portion of Ward 8. I'm speaking for the Active Bethel Community Board. We sent you a public health overlay zone statement of support letter on September 22nd, 2022. It read, "Dear Eugene Mayor and City Council, we, the Active Bethel community, urge the Eugene City Council to create a public health overlay zone to protect public health in West Eugene. Many neighborhoods in West Eugene have long suffered from an inequitable pollution burden, with over 95% of all air toxics in Eugene emitted in the 97402 zip code in West Eugene. Furthermore, neighborhoods in the industrial area near Roosevelt Avenue experience higher levels of cancer and asthma than the rest of the city. Community-based health surveys conducted by Beyond Toxics suggest that asthma and cancer are significantly associated with proximity to the large number of industrial polluters located nearby. A 2018 report issued by the United States Small Area Life Expectancy Estimates Project reported that life expectancy for residents in the census tract that includes Trainsong among Eugene's poorest neighborhoods is 70.2 years compared to 87.9 years for those in the tract in Southeast Eugene, one of the city's wealthiest areas. Residents and community organizations have tried to raise awareness about the environmental health discrepancies for decades. However, community concerns with polluter J.H. Baxter were ignored for years before soil testing showed extremely high levels of dioxins on the site and in residential soils. Facing increasing scrutiny from state regulatory agencies and increasing public pressure, the facility shut down in January 2022. The next half of the letter will be read by Robin Bloomgarden. Thank you.
I'm Robin Bloomgarden, an active board member of Active Bethel Community, living in Ward 8 for over 12 years. Part 2 of the letter. Our elected officials can take action to end the historical pattern of approving zoning codes and land uses that place industrial polluters and homes adjacent. A public health overlay zone would create buffer zones between homes and polluting businesses and ban the worst polluting industries from city limits. It would also strengthen noise, vibration, and odor rules, public meeting requirements, and other development standards. A public health overlay zone would also help provide peace of mind for a community that has long suffered from higher pollution levels. Families should know that the value of their property will not suffer due to nearby sources of pollution, and that new large polluters won't move into the area. Everyone in Eugene deserves to know that their families are safe to go outside, to take an evening walk, to eat vegetables from their own backyard gardens, and to recreate in their local parks. We urge the city of Eugene to create a public health overlay zone to protect West Eugene residents from new toxic polluters. I would also like to add that implementing the public health overlay zone and risk bonds are a crucial first step in a more equitable and sustainable future for our neighborhood. We strongly urge you to support these measures. We are also very excited to see that you have scheduled a work session for our Bethel area plan on April 19th. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn and Robin. Next, we will hear from Jan Bowman, followed by Jeer Rosemeyer.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council, City Manager. Nice to see you all tonight. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. My name is Jan Bowman. I reside in Ward 2. I'm here tonight as a member of the Sustainability Commission. I've been asked to reiterate and read into the record the letter of support that the Commission sent to you in February regarding the Public Health Overlay Zone. The Eugene Sustainability Commission urges the Eugene City Council to create a public health overlay zone to protect public health, specifically in West Eugene. We believe this concept should be implemented wherever residential zoning abuts industrial zoning with impacts from airborne toxics. This can help end the historical pattern of approving zoning codes and land uses that place industrial polluters adjacent to homes or adding neighborhoods around heavy industry where lower income residents have become concentrated. The recommended strategy for a public health overlay zone effectively creates buffer zones between homes and specific industrial sites and would ban heavily polluting industries from being developed within city limits. It would also strengthen noise, vibration, and odor rules, public meeting requirements, and other development standards to ensure community awareness and participation in future developments. A public health overlay zone would show the residents of West Eugene that their health and well-being are valued by our elected leadership. This type of overlay zone has already been researched and implemented in the Clear Lake overlay zone, and there is evidence that this strategy can be effective at reducing the impact from air toxics on residential neighborhoods. We urge the Eugene City Council to consider a public health overlay zone as one strategy to separate residential and heavy industrial zoning, to create robust strategies to mitigate the cumulative impact of localized air toxics, to focus specifically on protections for underserved West Eugene residents, and to improve the air quality for all residents of Eugene. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. Next, we'll hear from Jeer Rosemeyer, followed by Sue Craig.
My name is Jerry Rosemeyer. I live in Ward 6. And I appreciate the council's consideration of the West Eugene Public Overlay Zone, and I encourage you to pass the strongest possible version of it I am especially concerned that the zone, as finally implemented, retain all the prohibitions listed in Section 5 of the Beyond Toxics proposal. Facilities that produce and handle toxic wastes, of course, should not be located next to residential neighborhoods in West Eugene. They shouldn't be located near neighborhood or recreational sites anywhere in Eugene. And ultimately, and sooner rather than later, they simply shouldn't be located. As the long emergency of J.H. Baxter has illustrated, the time is over when businesses can treat toxic waste or any waste as externalities. It's stuff they dump somewhere cost-free. We talk about being sustainable. Sustainable means not producing types or amounts of wastes that alter the environment. Waste produced by the facilities in Section 5 is not sustainable. In trying to prepare these remarks, I did some research. I Googled toxic waste statistics for Eugene, Oregon. Nothing. I Googled toxic waste statistics for Lane County, Oregon. Nothing. I hope that the public health overlay zone should definitely include definitions of toxic wastes and requirements that facilities scrupulously record the amounts and destinations of such waste. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Next, we will hear from Sue Craig, followed by Elliot Gray.
Good evening, and thank you so much, Mayor Venus, and all of you for listening to us. I am from Many Rivers Sierra Club Group, and we are also very concerned about the public health overlay zone. And the letters that I brought that you just heard from other groups are right here. So you'll have all those statistics on hand if you want them. It took me 4.5 minutes if I was going to read that all over again to you. You can do it in much, much less time. So thank you. I want you to think back about the group that came to you a couple of months ago who are undergoing vibration every, 2, 3, 4 in the morning. It was destroying their families, their whole lives, and they certainly couldn't sell their property now. And just think about that. And if there had been something in place like this public health overlay zone, how much better that would have been for them. And I know that still hasn't been resolved, although you folks have tried very hard to resolve it. So thank you for listening to us. This overlay zone, it sounds like a really, really good idea. I hope you will press on with it very quickly. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sue. Next, we will hear from Elliot Gray, followed by Lisa Dion.
Good evening. Mayor Venus, City Council, City Manager. I've come tonight to talk about the electrification ordinance. After hearing from some friends about the council meeting last week and your discussion about the ordinance, I wanted to come to talk to you because I want to urge you to adopt that ordinance and move to accept the electrification ordinance and then pass a resolution that says that the electrification ordinance is retroactive if it is passed. I'd also like to ask you to take out a page in the voters pamphlet urging voters to accept the electrification ordinance and not vote for Northwest Natural Gas's proposition. Also, I think there's a timely article in the Register Guard right now entitled Methane, a Big Part of the Alarming Rise in Planet Warming Gases. It's very important. Thank you.
Thank you, Elliot. Next, we will hear from Lisa Dion, followed by Rich Locke.
Hello, my name is Lisa Dion. I live in Ward 7, currently in the River Road neighborhood. My husband, Eric Dion, grew up on the corner of Baxter Street and Elmira Road in West Eugene, next to J.H. Baxter. He lived there for the first 20 plus years of his life. In early August of 2022, days before Eric's 34th birthday, he suddenly fell very ill with a plethora of neurological symptoms that left doctors stumped. He spent 7 weeks in the hospital, and after many tests, scans, high-risk surgeries, and biopsies, he was eventually diagnosed with an extremely rare pediatric central nervous system cancer called diffuse leptomeningeal glioneuronal tumor, or DLGNT. Before his diagnosis, he lived a very healthy and active lifestyle and had no underlying health conditions. Now he's physically disabled, has severe short-term memory loss, and at times experiences dementia-like symptoms. Cancer doesn't run in his family. Given the close proximity in which he lived to J.H. Baxter and his long-term childhood exposure to the carcinogenic toxins spewed by the industrial plant, Eric's illness is no coincidence. According to a 2018 report, the life expectancy for those living in the Bethel neighborhood is 18 years shorter than those living in the Southern University neighborhood. More than 95% of all air toxins in Eugene are emitted in the 97402 zip code, which houses Eugene's poorest citizens. As a child, Eric attended Fairfield Elementary, and both Fairfield and Malabon elementary schools are ranked in the worst 12 to 13% nationwide for school children exposed to carcinogens. The city of Eugene must enact a public health overlay zone and build public health requirements into city code in order to protect our most vulnerable neighborhoods from bad actors like J.H. Baxter. Buffer zones are imperative to protecting our residential, park, and school zones from industrial facilities. We must hold companies like J.H. Baxter accountable, with much more than just a slap on the wrist if they do not act in the public's interest. As city leaders with the power to enact real change in the interest of public health, it is essential that you prioritize and protect the health of our community. By implementing a public health overlay zone, this will not only increase the quality of life for those living in.
Thank you, Lisa. Your time has concluded. Next, we will hear from Rich Locke, followed by Timothy Williams.
Good evening, all. Welcome back. I'd like to talk tonight about the work session that we had here a few weeks ago on the camping inside of the U. I'd just like to throw my 2 cents in on that. You know, as far as I'm concerned, it shouldn't. The camping that we're experiencing, we're probably talking about, shouldn't even be inside the urban growth boundaries. The county owns that. They should be taking care of that 100%. We should be maybe offering a service to take those folks to that place. But I say no closer than 100 feet from any waterway. And by just allowing it to happen in the city of Eugene, what we have here is, we're talking about Earth Day here. We have all of this toxic sewage that's going into every place that's around here. Everything goes into the Willamette River. Everything. All the water, all the surface water, all of the water around all of these homeless camps, it all goes to the Willamette River. That should be what we should be trying to fix. It's the here and now environmental issues that we have, instead of worrying about carbon that's going to happen, 30 years if the left sees it right. But I would like to say that it needs to be handled. And I also think we need to stop encouraging panhandling and around the street corners where we have the panhandling. We just set up camp and we go to work every day by getting out of our tent, making a great big mess, and then retreating back to their tent with their money. I think that Eugene and Springfield are supposed to be working together, or are working together for some of these camping rules. I think this council should adopt some of the rules that Springfield is using to discourage that uncontrolled camping. Thanks.
Thank you, Rich. Next, we will hear from Timothy Williams, followed by Otto Poticha.
Hello, my name is Timothy Williams.
And thank you for seeing me and listening or allowing all of us to be able to speak, especially me. I did not really have anything scheduled to say. I brought some friends today. I live in a motel. I have 4 children and a wife, and we've decided to be a neighbor to our neighbors that pass through Ward 7. I didn't say that. I'm in Ward 7 as well too. And through the time, I've learned to not like at all, but yet I still have learned to reach out to them and grow myself to help them in the ways in which they need help. And in this season, I've been hearing a lot of requests from people that live on the streets to just stand up for them and just make mention to y'all on the good things you are doing and for you to continue that. But then also they have mentioned this feels it's getting harder in losing their stuff from the city as well. And so I told them I would stand up today and be the voice for many who do not feel comfortable coming in these buildings, and others who just don't keep track of time. Thank you.
Thank you, Timothy. Next, we will hear from Otto Poticha, followed by Paige Hopkins.
My name is Otto Poticha. I've been here many times. I live at 1820 Kona Street, the Zelenka ward. I came to speak a bit about City Hall, my favorite subject. I've printed what I'm going to say here. It's too long for 2.5 minutes, but there's copies for all of you. We understand the council's compromise solution for the new City Hall, and this narrative is not to argue about that action. Congratulations, at least we have a direction, though it is different from your recent and past deliberations and decisions. We understand this decision is being expedient, but it's done, and now we collectively must achieve. It does preserve this important building and site as a public and community asset. Tonight's testimony is to encourage you to provide a more inclusive, comprehensive, and imaginative ingredient to the ongoing due diligence study for the community's use of the former eWeb office building and adjacent sites. This building and important site requires a vision, more inclusive, responsible solution than a single purpose City Hall use. A solution that provides more than a visual city's presence and a solution for the city's current office needs. The current due diligence direction, as noted or understood, is to spend as little money as possible, or even reuse the furniture and just simply move in. That's not acceptable. I've listed some background, current circumstances, research history, and observations, but that takes more than my 2.5 minutes. So the request tonight is for the mayor and council to instruct the manager and staff to include within its current due diligence study a site master plan for the balance of the 4.4 acres, that may also include a portion of the North Bank Park study for other identified visual and cultural uses for the future Eugene Cultural Center neighborhood, with the City Hall as one of its occupants and the
Thank you, Otto. Your time has concluded. Next, we will hear from Paige Hopkins, followed by Zach Mulholland. Paige, go ahead and unmute.
Dear Mayor Venice, City Councilors, and City Manager Maderi, I am Paige Hopkins, the Climate Justice Organizer for Beyond Toxics, and I live in Ward 3. I want to thank you for allowing me to speak with you this evening in support of advancing the Public Health Overlay Zone. This Public Health Overlay Zone would prioritize the community's health by banning the most toxic land uses and creating a buffer between residential homes and industrial land. We need this land use policy to ultimately change the past planning mistakes we have made in zoning industrial facilities next to homes and schools. Many of the large polluters and air toxics emitters are located in West Eugene neighborhoods. There are large sections of industrial land and freight rail lines adjacent to residential properties located near schools and parks, including the industrial corridors along Highway 99 and Roosevelt Boulevard. In this community, we have seen higher rates of health issues such as cancer and asthma. People should not have their health and/or daily lives impacted by noise or air pollution. They should be able to move freely throughout their neighborhood, such as we see in other neighborhoods here in Eugene. And so with that, I ask that you prioritize public health by advancing the public health overlay zone and the Bethel neighborhood plan, and ask that these actions are prioritized at the next work session on April 19th. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Paige. Next, we will hear from Zach Mulholland, followed by Wayne Martin.
Hello, Mayor and Council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Zach Mulholland from Ward 6. Tonight, I speak on my own behalf. So first, I just wanted to speak to the Public Health Overlay Zone, say how important it is that the Public Health Overlay Zone gets prioritized for work by city staff. The community has waited long enough for the Public Health Overlay Zone, and we ask that when you have the Planning and Development Department work session on the 19th, that you prioritize the Public Health Overlay Zone as a top priority for their work. Second, on the Bethel Neighborhood Plan, just like to say that I am very supportive of moving forward the Bethel Neighborhood Plan. The last one, I believe, is from 1982. So it is older than I am, and time for an update. Last, on the topic of revenue, I just wanted to say I'm very, very thankful to council and the city manager for beginning this conversation. The current proposal is very good, except for one issue, which is that it does not include any budget committee members or others from the community in helping determine what the priorities for new revenue should be. The council would have work sessions, determine what the priorities are, and then the revenue committee would be formed. And I would just ask that the budget committee be included in those conversations, even if it's just in an advisory role, so that you can get the full input from the budget committee on what the priorities for new revenue should be before going into that revenue team process. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Zach, next we'll hear from Wayne Martin, followed by Laura Appel.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, Madam City Manager. I'm going to read a letter that was written by someone that is in the group that serves breakfasts and lunches to people at First and Washington Street. We do that 4 days a week. He writes, "My name is Nathan Bemeler. I've been living in Eugene since 2003. 15 years of those have been unhoused. In the past 18 months, I've seen a major change in the role and the conduct of members of the Eugene Police Department and the Eugene Parks and Open Spaces Department. One change is that the degree of interaction with the unhoused, most of it negative, has been steadily on the rise. Another is that EPD and Parks have been providing little or no advance notice for us before an impending eviction. On 4 occasions in the last year, a Parks Department vehicle has stopped at my tent site and removed my belongings, moved them to presumed storage sites. On each of these occasions, I've been left with nothing: no bedding, no tent, no private amenities, including toiletries, no clothing, and none of my personal records and papers. All 4 times I have had to start gathering once again the supplies and necessities for bare survival. The many others who have been through these ordeals as I have are joining together with me in strongly asking at least 72 hours notice while being given the dignity, empathy, and respect that we expect as citizens. In the coming weeks, I and other unhoused adults would like to present to you as staff and managers at a special meeting which you designate to give serious attention to finding better ways for dialogue and agreement between city departments most culpable and those like me who feel that our basic human rights have been taken away. We want to be at the table, to be included in finding ways to reduce the effects of losing our belongings and facing uncertain weather ahead. Please note, I am able to be contacted through a message phone 831.
Thank you, Wayne. Your time has completed. Next, we will hear from Laura Appel, followed by Argery Arbery Barabalt.
Hello, city councilors. Hello, mayor, city attorney, and city manager, and everybody else. My name is Lauren Appel. I use she and her pronouns, and I am also a mental health therapist here in Eugene. I'm here on behalf of Equitable Access Eugene, advocating for the decriminalization of psychedelic plants and fungi, specifically the ability to grow and gather and gift them. First, I'll speak to why psychedelic plants and fungi. As mental health is my main passion, my main priority in life. In grad school, I did a deep dive into the research on psychedelic plants and fungi, and I found that it was incredibly astounding. The research on what psychedelic plants and fungi can do for situations such as substance addiction, non-treatable depression, anxiety, the list, PTSD, the list goes on, just blew me away. Also learning about indigenous communities and how many of them have used various plants and fungi that are sacred to their community for millennia is also just, I think, worth noting and worth considering just how beneficial these substances are. It might be confused when I'm talking about decriminalization, since we had 110 that was approved to decriminalize possession. And also we have 109 that makes legalization of psilocybin specifically and psilocybin services. And I'm here speaking on behalf of growing, gathering, and gifting because I think there's a huge gap left by 109 and 110. For 109, there's a very high pay barrier to be able to access these psilocybin services. It really leaves the majority of people, especially my clients, not able to access the therapeutic medicine of these substances. And then for 110, there are very strict limits on how much can be possessed. For example, 12 grams of psilocybin. In terms of growing and gathering psilocybin, that is a very dangerous number to have. Like it's very legally dangerous to be growing psilocybin if someone can only have 12 grams or be at risk of getting prosecuted by police. And so most cities that have decriminalized have allowed, have made it so that any non-commercial activity is decriminalized. And I would like to urge city council to also make it so, and so people can grow and gather and gift these substances. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Laura. Next, we'll hear from Argery Arbery Barabalt, followed by Suzanne O'Shea. Argery, go ahead and unmute.
Hi, sorry, I'm trying to get my camera situated here. Hello, Mayor Venice and City Council and City Manager. My name is Argery Arbery Barabo, and I'm the West Eugene Community Organizer for Beyond Toxics. It's so exciting to hear everyone speak on the Public Health Overlay Zone tonight. It's really super exciting for me. And I would like to thank you for the opportunity to be able to speak on it myself about the Public Health Overlay Zone. Well, you know, we've been at this about a year and a half. Can you guys even believe that? It's been about a year and a half that we've been speaking with you about this. And throughout this entire process, you all have been extraordinarily supportive of the Public Health Overlay Zone, the need for it. And several of you have even suggested that this policy be citywide. And wouldn't that be amazing? It would have a long-lasting impact on the public health in Eugene and then to Lane County, then filtering out to the rest of Oregon. And in my visionary eyes, I see the Public Health Overlay Zone being adopted nationwide and eventually serve as a model for other locations around the world to take in consideration the negative health impacts of folks living in close proximity to industrial facilities. So Mayor Venice, city councilors, and city manager, as you're working on the Bethel neighborhood plan, please continue with your productive and wonderful support of the need for a public health overlay zone in West Eugene and possibly citywide. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Argery. Next, we'll hear from Suzanne O'Shea, followed by Jarrell Brown.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hello, my name is Suzanne O'Shea. I have owned property in Bethel's Ward 6 for over 35 years, represented by Greg Evans. I am the treasurer of Active Bethel Citizens Neighborhood Association, speaking tonight on my own behalf. Honoring Earth Day, I am here to ask all of the city councilors to support development of the Public Health Overlay Zone. As you have heard tonight, there are many issues of health and well-being that every city has a responsibility to address to provide a vibrant life for its community. Thank you, Councilor Groves, for representing us at the J.H. Baxter meeting coming up. I am also asking for your support for a Bethel neighborhood plan, and that it be the next neighborhood plan that you address before any others. Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. Next, we will hear from Jarrell Brown, followed by Randolph Nelson.
Hello and thank you. Dear Mayor Venice and Eugene City Councilors, my name is Jarrell Brown and I am the Environmental Climate Organizer for our local branch of the NAACP. It is a pleasure to speak with you today. As an individual passionate about environmental justice and public health, I encourage the City Council to support the development of the Public Health Overlay Zone, as it provides an efficient and common sense means to protect the communities, our communities, throughout the Eugene area. Toxins and pollutants are known to create adverse health conditions, and establishing an area that prevents toxic land uses and creates a separation between industrial facilities and residential, park, and school zones will make huge differences in ensuring that Eugene residents do not have to face the impacts of toxic exposure and other negative health impacts. Other policies reflect a similar purpose as this one. For instance, the Clear Lake Overlay Zone can be used as a model to guide the creation of the Public Health Overlay Zone. The Clear Lake Overlay Zone shows that these policies can be implemented as a means to respond to and respect community wishes surrounding environmental and public health. Moreover, it has been proved that industrial facilities such as J.H. Baxter, a wood treatment facility located in Eugene, have exposed the Eugene community to toxic pollutants, specifically dioxin, in life-changing, in community members' homes and backyards. Dioxin is known to cause cancer and other life-changing health issues. This example shows the need for the community to be separated from the danger of the production of toxic chemicals. No one should be in danger of being exposed to cancer-causing chemicals in their own homes. We ask that you prioritize public health by advancing the Public Health Overlay Zone in the Bethel Neighborhood Plan by asking that these actions are prioritized in the Planning Department work plan at the next work session on April 19th. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Jarrell. Next, we will hear from Randolph Nelson, followed by Josh Easterland.
Hello, my name is Randolph Nelson. I'm representing the homeless. I won't take the time here. I want to talk on three topics here: the mental illness needs and an area that it's just an idea for an area that we could use, and it wouldn't take up much of the city's resources, and keeping track of the homeless. The first one is the mental illness. I think we should. There's more could be done because a lot of it isn't being addressed at all. They should be at least monitored and seeing if they're taking their meds or if their meds are more available to them or something like that. Because there's a lot of homelessness people that are suffering in that sense, and I don't know, and then they're taken advantage of, and that causes a lot of trouble. But my number one concern is probably the mental illness there. And then if we a camping area, if we could like get an area like half-acre plots somewhere or something like that, but have a paid manager on each one, it's sort of like these little huts where they're at. Have something like that where we could put lockers. Lockers are a big thing for homeless people. A place to put their stuff where they're not dragging it on the buses and this and that. And things get stolen and then fights and stuff that leads into that. We get porta toilets on it and a playground for, where if you got kids. And maybe a medical staff could come once a week and address diseases or whatever, cuts, wounds, whatever these guys get, that they don't know enough to go to the doctor, because they gradually gets worse and they gradually get used to that. Maybe staff could come like White Bird or somebody like that. And I think a garden would be a cool thing if they could have their own garden. They could have something to do. They pride built of making that. Maybe a playground. I might have already said that. They could have a staff combined to do their own meal exchange thing or whatever that happens, and offer some kind of treatment or something that they could maybe get people into doing a little treatment. But I think that they should do a UA before they even get into these camping areas, because drug addiction comes in and gives homelessness a bad name.
Thank you, Randolph. Next, we'll hear from Josh Easterland, followed by Sammy Rothage.
Hello, I'm Josh. I'm the Director of Equitable Access Eugene, and I'm also here to talk about the criminalization of psychedelic plants and fungi. Despite the passage of Measure 109 and 110 by 60% of Eugene voters in 2020, which legalized psilocybin sessions and decriminalized possession of small amounts of drugs, including some psychedelics, there's still much work to be done to ensure the access to the healing benefits of these substances. While the passage of Measure 110 was a significant step in the right direction, it only decriminalized possession and did not address the criminalization of cultivation and sharing of these substances. Furthermore, the costs associated with psilocybin sessions, which were legalized under Measure 109, will price out many low-income individuals who could benefit from it. The healing effects of psychedelic plants and fungi are well documented and have been used for centuries by indigenous cultures around the world. Modern studies have shown that these substances can be effective in treating depression, anxiety, addiction, PTSD, and other mental health conditions. Yet, due to their classification as Schedule I drugs, they're criminalized and stigmatized, making it difficult for people to access them safely and legally. So decriminalizing the cultivation of psychedelic plants and fungi in Eugene would provide an avenue for people to access these substances safely and affordably, affordability being a significant issue that will affect local disenfranchised groups more. It would also recognize the rights of individuals to cultivate and share these plants as part of their spiritual and cultural practices, which have been criminalized and suppressed for far too long. By decriminalizing the growth of these substances, we would take a significant step towards creating a more equitable city, which recognizes the healing power of these plants and fungi and provides safe avenues for all who seek it. In conclusion, I urge the Eugene City Council to take action on this crucial issue and decriminalize the growth of psychedelic plants and fungi in our city. The passage of Measures 109 and 110 by 60% of voters here demonstrates that this is an issue that matters to our community. So let's work together to create a more just and equitable city that provides affordable resources to access these substances for all who could benefit. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Josh. Next, we will hear from Sammy Rothage, followed by Bella Lee.
Hi, my name's Sammy Rothage. I'm from Ward 7, I believe it is. Good evening, Council. My name is Sammy Rothage, and I think I'm in Ward 7, I believe it is. Yeah, I just wanted to say that it's making it impossible to try to rent a house around here, or apartment or studio, because the rates are just keep on going up and up, and it's hard to find affordable housing. So, and I'd like to, I'm here to support my friend Timothy Williams and yeah, about the homeless problem, and that's basically all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Sammy. Next, we will hear from Bella Lee, followed by Patty Hine.
Hi, folks. I feel like I'm in royalty. I was raised right here in Alpine, Oregon. I'm cowboy and Indian, Lakota Indian. I've been homeless for 3.5 hard years. Kids out there call me mom. They need a pair of shoes. I'll take my shoes off. I'll walk barefoot. These kids here are about to explode all over Eugene. I give it till summertime. I put them on a scale of 9. You're right, the garbage. I have a lot of kids. I clean that crap up, kids. They're cleaning it up. This is a sad thing. I'm walking around. I have a pelvic fracture. I'm anorexic. I'm walking around like this. I don't feel sorry for myself. I clean my areas up. I'm currently sleeping out in the open with no tent. They stole my tent. They stole all my money I got this month. I worked 40 years right here in this city, taking care of some of the wealthiest people on this earth. I could go back there. I won't. I won't break their confidentiality. I won't insult myself like that. I will continue to take care of these kids. I'm just warning you, Eugene. That's all. We all need to band together. We need to figure this out. There's a whole homeless group of kids out there that are waiting for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Bella. Next, we will hear from Patty Hine, followed by our final speaker, Thomas Newman.
Good evening, Mayor Venus, City Councilors, and Manager Maderi. My name is Patty Hine, and I live in the county. Mayor Venus, thank you for your Earth Day proclamation and for agreeing to kick off our Earth Day celebration in Eugene on Saturday, April 22nd. It will be at the old Federal Building on 7th and Pearl. I'm speaking tonight on behalf of 350 Eugene to urge you to support public health by prioritizing actions in the Public Health Overlay Zone and Bethel neighborhood plans at your next work session on April 19th. Studies show that most polluting industries are located in working class and racially diverse areas, like the Bethel neighborhood in West Eugene. This has rightly been called environmental racism. Policies like the Public Health Overlay Zone rules can help prevent this kind of situation in the future and avoid harms to our most vulnerable communities. As we collectively face a major transition to clean, renewable energy and away from burning fossil fuels and other dangerous polluting practices, we have a rare opportunity to correct long-standing wrongs that have been baked into these economic inequalities and racist policies. We can act to contain the problem and avoid future harms, and I know you want to do this. Thank you for prioritizing actions on the Public Health Overlay Zone and the Bethel Neighborhood Plan.
Thank you, Patty. Next, we will hear from our final speaker, Thomas Newman.
Thomas Newman, Ward 2. Speaking to the topic of urban reserves. I, like Matt King, also worry about big game habitat and how it could be impacted. I believe that urban reserves maps showing possible buildable land will be hard to maintain with infrastructure and is too far on the outskirts of Eugene that anyone living in a future home built there will have to use a car. Let's not forget that single family homes cost more and are less climate friendly in terms of energy usage and cost more in infrastructure build out. What should be built on future urban reserves is a majority mix of high density housing with a minimum amount of single family housing. We can reach the governor's goal of 36,000 new homes in Oregon, but we need to do this by building high density housing on mostly existing land like parking lots and land that is not being used well. New land brought into the urban reserves should only be seen as a bonus. Lastly, I support extending all the urban renewal districts, and I also support building more community facilities and car-free areas in downtown. Also, we should build high-density housing or maybe another plaza where the old city hall was and get rid of that ugly parking lot currently there. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas. Mayor, that was our final speaker.
Everybody who spoke, there were some very compelling comments. I wanted to thank Lisa Dion for telling your very painful personal story about your husband. I wanted to thank the the folks who came on behalf of people who are living outside. It's been a particularly awful winter, particularly wet and cold and miserable. And so it is our goal to provide better accommodation for folks, and appreciate you taking the time to testify today. Are there counselors? I have Counselor Semple, Counselor Groves. Take it away.
Thank you. I also want to thank all of you and our virtual people for coming tonight and sharing your stories and opinions. They're really very helpful. So thank you for that. I especially want to thank Timothy Williams for coming to share other voices that could not be here. It's a difficult thing. As I also thank Wayne, Randolph, Sammy, and Bella for bringing real life experiences of what it's like with the challenges and realities in our city. I wish I could keep all of you safe and doing everything, and I wish I could do more. But I'm very grateful for you to come. I know it takes some courage. Thank you.
Oh, sorry. Counselor Groves.
Thank you, Mayor.
I forgot I had a role there.
I too want to thank everyone who spoke tonight, whether here in person or virtually. It's important to hear from you. I have supported the public health overlay zone from the beginning. I was one of two counselors that brought this forward as a motion. I also support the Bethel area plan that we need to get in the queue somewhere. And it's been way too long. It's time to address that. I also want to speak just briefly to the public health overlay zone. While I certainly believe in it, it's going to make a difference in future development. I'm starting to hear some people expand what it's actually designed to do. And I want to make sure that our expectations meet reality, or we're going to be disappointed. It's going to do many good things, but even like the noise vibration problems, some of the homes being affected by that, first of all, it's existing, not new, but some of the homes being affected by that and the people being affected by that live far outside the buffer zone. So just be thinking about that as we move forward. Now, we took other steps as a council to try to address that with the noise ordinance, but that's different from the public health overlay zone. Again, it's important. It's an important move for us. Support it 100%. Want it done as quickly as we can, but it's not a fix-all for absolutely everything. And then the last comment I wanted to make, and unfortunately the gentleman has left, but maybe Lynn, you and Robin could share the gentleman who spoke to not being able to find anything about toxic waste in Eugene. That information is available through the fire marshal's office, through both the hazardous materials permitting process, but also the Toxics Right to Know program that measures chemicals in use and chemicals out. And so that information is there. You just have to get online and access it. And a good starting point is with the fire marshal's office, which is part of the Eugene Springfield Fire Department. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Counselor Evans.
Yeah. I want to thank Lynn and Robin and Suzanne and Jerry for coming in, and all the other residents from wards 6 and 8 for coming out and supporting the health overlay zone and the Bethel area plan. We've waited 41 years for this, and I've been on council 10 years and been banging on these issues, specifically the fact that while we are doing development throughout Eugene, particularly in our downtown core and on the riverfront, we can ill afford to ignore our neighborhoods, and our neighborhoods need as much, if not more, attention, particularly around the issues that we have talked about with public health, with affordable housing, and making sure that our communities are safe and livable for all of our residents. So I'm looking forward to our future discussions, and I believe that we are poised on the brink of making hopefully some significant progress in our planning efforts and our development efforts in West and Northwest Eugene.
Thank you. Councilor Keating.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everyone who provided testimony tonight. Special thanks to Ward 2 resident Thomas Newman for your closing and supportive comments. Lisa, my heart goes out to you, to Eric and your family. I thank you for providing compelling testimony tonight. I thank Jan Bowman, see Jan here anymore, and the Sustainability Commission, representatives of the Sierra Club, Many Rivers Group, Beyond Toxics organizers, neighborhood leaders, and colleagues who've long been fighting the fight and underscoring the importance and impacts of supporting the proposed public health overlay zone in West Eugene. Thank you all for the continued work and the enthusiasm and making your voices heard. I look forward to this council taking the appropriate action.
Okay, thank you. Any other final comments from councilors? All right, seeing none, I want to thank you all again for coming out on this cold and rainy night and testifying. And with that, we are adjourned.